You guys are in for a big shock. I've been reviewing drone products for about 5 years now, and let me tell you, I have never been more excited about a product than what I'm about to show you in this video. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, strap yourself in because this is quite possibly, and I don't say this lightly, my favorite product I have ever reviewed on the channel. Why? Number one, this is going to get so many people into the hobby. I'm all about giving people the right information so they can make the right value choices to get up, get flying, experiencing FPV. UAVfutures is all about sharing this passion of flying. It changed my life. You guys know how much I love this hobby, and I want other people to experience that as well. This radio here, the betafpv Lite radio, is going to do that for a lot of people. It is just kicking open the doors and saying, come in, get flying, enjoy this hobby without breaking the bank. So, what we're going to do in this video, we're going to break it down. We're going to look at this. It's going to be linked down below. It is the $40, I think it's 40 bucks anyway, or $39, something like that. Check the link. But this radio, it's $40. It has some insane range. It binds up to D8, a D16. It's got enough switches galore that it is absolutely perfect to anybody coming into the hobby. They don't want to break the bank. They want a good value radio. You might be having some other people. You might have some friends you want to get. You might have some kids that you want to say, hey, what radio should I get? Well, stay tuned because this you definitely do not want to miss. Now, the first part I want to mention too, of course, it is not going to be nearly as good as, say, a Tango 2, which is coming in at, I think, around the $150, $60, maybe $200 marks. You've got that type of top-end radio here. Some people might be looking at the jumper T18s, the T16s, the Radio Masters. That's like your middle average price point. That's like 120 bucks or so. This bad boy, it is coming in at $40, which is insane when you see exactly what it can do. So as a bit of an overview, let's get these two out of the way. Radios are one of the best places you can spend money to get into the hobby. You want to get a radio that's going to last you, you're going to enjoy, and pretty much for 40 bucks, you cannot complain with the price versus performance you get from this thing. I haven't even started recording in the roof cam. All right, that's better. I got way too excited rambling about this radio, but as you can see, this is it on the bench. It is very, very light. It is a small radio. It's probably not made so much for pinchers, I guess. We're going to show you some field tests. I'm going to fly it around as well. You see it indoors, we'll see an outdoor range test, all that sort of stuff. But as an overview, it's a 40 buck radio. You just take it out of the box. It can do USB charging. It's got a couple of position switches, which is more than enough than you need to get drone flying. So let's say here you might have you've got a 2-position switch, 3-position, 3-position, and a 2-position as well, and that is absolutely it. So for me, you might have your arm switch, you might have your mode switch, your buzzer switch, your turtle mode switch. What more do you need? I don't think as a racing drone pilot or a normal freestyle drone pilot, you don't need switches way out the wazoo, because I don't use half of these switches. I don't even use a tenth of these switches when it comes to my everyday normal drone pilot flying. So it's the same as, I guess, like the Tango 2. Keeping it simple, you can see this is a premium radio here that was rocking Crossfire inside, and it probably has the same amount of switches. So definitely, you don't fall into the trap of thinking I need more switches. That's not what you need when it comes to just everyday freestyle and drone racing, FPV racing as a whole. Now, of course, it charges by USB. If I open up the back, you can see what we've got. It comes with this little battery, which is another little plus. I can't believe it comes with a battery, which is crazy. So you can just charge that bad boy up right there. That's a 350 milliamp 2S LiPo. One part I want to mention, we're going to open it up. When you first get it out of the box, we've got your power button right here, a little USB, and even a trainer port if you want to use that. But what I do want to mention, this left gimbal, the gimbals are very, very stiff, especially when it came to the throttle. I had to open mine up, and then inside there is just a, actually I should show you that now. Let's cut to when that's done. Got my screwdriver here and everything. All right. Actually, watching this back in editing, I want to make sure too, I've got to put this in, it binds up to like your D8 and your D16. So all your free sky receivers and free sky drones, this thing's got you covered. All right, so here we go. Let's take it apart. And what I love too, the back part comes completely off. So you don't need to worry about snapping your antennas, anything like that. This is just the shell. It's got a couple little weights here, which really don't do anything besides make it feel a little bit more weighty in the hand. I don't know how I feel about that, if that's actually necessary or not. But here we can see where I had to tighten it down on the throttle side of things. This one is your throttle. There's that little screw that's actually from another, I put the wrong screw in the, anyway, long story. That screw doesn't come with it. I used a replacement. Anyway, we're moving on. This bit right here, you can see, is exactly where the throttle tension goes. I don't know the actual name of that, but this little part here, if you want to loosen or tighten the throttle, simply screw this screw up or down, It's going to put more pressure on that little plate, which then gives a bit more resistance to the gimbal. So when you first get this, I do recommend just open it up. There's a couple of screws on the back, really easy. You don't have to worry about breaking anything. Loosen this one up, and then you're going to have a much better time flying around. That's where it felt more like these traditional radios that I'm used to, versus when it first came out of the box. It was very, very stiff. Now, why this is open, something I do want to mention as well, which is a little bit different. We have a board antenna up the top, so it's not like your normal antenna. And most people might be saying, yeah, what about the range? Yeah, you're not going to be doing long range with this. That's not what this is about, but you will see a range test for the everyday park flyer, especially if you're a beginner. You can tell how excited I am about this. You're going to absolutely love it. So what we're going to do, I should say, the buying procedure as well, for anybody who's watching, I'll talk about that now. It did kind of drive me nuts in the instructions, because what you need to do, it can go to D, you've got to change your setup, and there isn't different model setups, I guess, so you can't change the models in here, but it can bind to more than one model at once, but one model at once. But when I was flying around, I was using D8 mode. I found to get the best range with D8 mode as well. This is how you change your protocol setup if you need to. You've got a little mode switch on the back here, so this bind button, which you can see, make sure that is held in. Power on your radio, it is going to flash one color, and then you can let go. And the problem is then it's going to go into bind mode almost straight away, and that can be confusing. Don't fall for that trap. What you need to do, just do that a few times and it will cycle through each one. D8, D16, the two different D16s, and then the D8 as well, depending on if you live in Europe or not, if you want to use those different D16s. And then basically you are off to the races. So that part took me a little bit confusing. It took me a little bit to understand, because it's going to flash some different color lights, and it says a slow 3 flash, or 2 flash, or 1 flash. But then it goes straight into the bind mode, which does rapid flashing, which was confusing me. So I was looking at those rapid bind flashes, thinking that that was the protocol it was setting on. Don't worry about that. It happens straight at the start when you turn on, and then it's going to go into bind mode. Anyway, I digress. This radio, let's do it. We're going to fly around the house. I'll show you some impressions. We're going to jump over to my live streaming setup. You'll see where I normally do some live streams, and you can watch a little card to pop up there for some live streams and giveaways and all that sort of stuff as well. But this bad boy, let's do it. I'll show you my impressions, and then something that I can't believe happened. We're going to go out and I'm going to show you the range of this thing, and I was absolutely blown away for what you can get nowadays for a $40 radio for getting into the hobby. So let's do that. Have some fun in 3, 2, 1. Boop. Radio, here we are in the field. Let's do it. A bit of a different view for you guys. I'm actually sitting in my live streaming studio. If you haven't seen my live streams before, definitely a little card should pop up. It's the FPV Mix. It's where we get together, we goof around, we have a whole bunch of fun segments, and it is on every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday if you're in the US. And I thought this is going to be an easy way that I can record this radio and show you guys exactly what it's like as well, because I need someone to hold the camera. Well, this live streaming studio can do it for me. So we're going to go through, you've seen it on the bench. Let's find out how it actually goes on the sticks. But just before we start, I'm going to plug this and put this on the screen as well. You can see, some of you might not know, there's actually a UAVfutures.com, so you can go check this out. There is tons of useful articles, all this sort of stuff in here, whether you want to, if you're looking at getting some sky zones, the right tools for the job, a whole bunch, a good one on antennas, a whole bunch of different articles you can go check out there. But let's do it right now. We're going to fly around and just show you what the Beta FPV radio is like in the hands. And first impressions, it feels relatively light. I do like the tactile plastic that they've got on here. Plenty of switches, all that sort of stuff, really more than you need. You're never going to use more than this for most drone applications. And for a beginner radio, I don't really know how much more you could actually want. Now, let's plug in the mob, and we'll see if we get any range issues. I'll show you the DVR as well. That should pop up on the screen sometime soon. And I feel like I'm out of Star Wars, red leader, because I've got all this stuff really getting, or Ready Player One, we are augmenting into the future. Let's do it. Let's see if I can actually fly out of here without crashing, go for a little spin, and I'll focus more on what the radio is like. I'm not going to be talking about the quad too much, because this is all about the radio. Now, I think we're in stabilization mode. We are. Start my DVR. All right, we are ready to rock and roll. Now, I did loosen up one of my spring tensions because I felt like it was way too stiff in its default parameters, and this is about, look, I'm not going to complain, especially considering the price. I don't think it'd be really made for any pinches, because it is quite tricky to try to reach the outsides. Like, it feels uncomfortable pulling them back close together. Man, I've gone into some weird setting here. Let's get out of here, save and reboot, then let's rip around with the mob. I've got mine bound up in D8 mode as well. All right, let's do it. We are armed. We are loud. Oh, look at the concentration face. Once I can get out of this space, it's good. All right, so here we go. Through the house. It does feel like it's got
I probably need to put a little bit of expo on this quad as well. There's my family right there, playing doctors or something in the middle of the house. But here we go, flying around. The radio, it feels so much better than some of those other cheap toy. Oh, I'm bumping into the wall. No, where am I? Oh, it feels so much better than some of those other cheap radio toys that you might be getting. Things that come with like the Eachine novice kits or anything like that. This is hands down a million times better. That laundry door is shut. I can't fly out there. All right, let's see. Now, I know this really isn't a range test. I'll try to do a little bit more as well. We'll take it out in the field and see just how far we can fly. But this might be a good indication. This radio feels good. Like, I wouldn't be able to do this, I think, with the Eachine Novice. The stick ends, they feel probably right if you're going to be pinching. And especially, look how many toys are in this room. It's so messy. But especially if you're a kid getting into the hobby, you've got some smaller hands. This may be right up your alley. Of course, it's not going to be made for planes or anything like that. But man, I got to say, if you are just getting into the hobby, what more could you want? I'm not really noticing the gimbals too much. They don't feel janky. They don't feel stiff or grindy. Nothing like that. Of course, I don't feel like the TBS Tango 2 or Hall Effect gimbals or some really nice full size gimbals. But it's a $40 radio. I mean, if you're just getting into the hobby, you cannot complain. Maybe you want to pick one up for maybe you've got a son or a daughter you want to teach how to fly. You don't want to be breaking the bank and buying them a brand new Radio Master TX16. Why is the fridge open? Um, anyway, but yeah, overall, I got to say, I'm kind of a huge fan of this radio. I think this is what our hobby needs. We need this entry level where people can just get in and get flying without breaking the bank. And you can see they're doing a little bit of some tight maneuvers without really struggling too much. It's definitely my pilot skills that will be holding me back. It is not the radio in the slightest. I'm not noticing any latency or lag, that's for sure. Just bound up on D8 mode. And yeah, I got to say a thumbs up to betafpv. But anyway, what we should do, let's bring it in and then talk a little bit more about it. See if I can land it without killing myself here. Wow. Woo-hoo-hoo. All right, so that's pretty good. I got to say, man, this radio felt great. That's kind of what it's all about for me. Just giving people cheap options to get into the hobby that they don't have to break the bank. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll go outdoors, do a bit of a range test and show you some DVR, just how far it goes. Let's do it. Let's rip it around, and not real scientific, just a bit of a range test. We're going to fly the betafpv Lite Radio 2, whatever it is. The thing linked down below. We're going to fly it around, and this is probably the perfect setting. We can do a little bit of a range test, see how it goes for like an entry level, I guess, FPV radio. So let's have some fun, test out its range and what it's like in 3, 2, 1, whoop. Rightio, here we are. We're at the park as well. Took my daughter there. She was going up and down the slide. I'm flying around drones a little bit. Wife was watching the kids, but here we go, flying around. And I got to say, this was so unexpected. I thought it'd be a cool little radio, but I never knew it would go this far. It is absolutely insane, especially when you see just how far we've gone. Look, I'm at the edge of the limitations of where I can fly here. I thought this park would be a definite range test. I'd find a fail safe somewhere, but that was not the case with this one. When we cruise back, you'll think, man, that is absolutely ridiculous. And on top of that, I want you to remember this Mob 6, it's just got an inbuilt SPI onboard receiver. It doesn't have a full dedicated receiver, a full-size receiver, nothing like that. So the range you're getting from this thing is just absolutely mind-boggling. So you can see here I am standing next to this playground. I don't know what you call this little play part pen thing up the top here. But then we go for a little cruise, and I got to say, for a $40 radio getting into the hobby, you've seen how it felt in the studio when I was flying around on the sticks. You've seen what it's like. It's USB charging. It's got all the switches galore. What more do you really need? I mean, cruising around, you're probably not going to be doing long range with it. Absolutely not. Would I be putting a ton of expensive gear on it and rip it over water? Probably not. Am I going to practice this thing around and fly around? And do I think it's a perfect gift for somebody wanting to jump in the hobby? Or if you've only got $40, it is a good spend. Absolutely, yes. So I got to say, the range, not only did I like the radio really before I took it out long range, I loved it around the house, but just seeing how far this thing can go on that little board antenna, I am very, very surprised and impressed.
Rightio, so there it is. There is my review of the betafpv, the Lite 2 radio, whatever you want to call it. It is linked down below, and let me tell you, for $40, it is absolutely insane. UAVfutures is all about getting people flying, and if you can afford the top of the range radio with the biggest crossfire, long range, ultra setup, I don't even know what if you can afford those top of the line radios, all the more power to you. I hope you're enjoying the hobby. That's what it's all about, enjoying the skies. But this radio right here, for $40 entry price point, there is absolutely no one out there who can't argue and can't complain. This is going to get so many people in the hobby. I get so many emails. Stuart, what's the cheapest way to get into FPV? What do you recommend? We used to recommend like a Free Sky 90-buck radio. This is going to open up for so much more. If you've got kids out there, you want to get into the hobby, maybe you just want to have a second backup radio, maybe you just can't afford to drop $300 on the top tier radios or anything like that, or the Sky, that's being conservative depending on which brand you look at. You know, this, absolutely. Yes, it does have its limitations. You can't go through. It's not open TX. You're not going to be going through and having some extreme long ranges because it's got that board antenna in here. There's a few, you can't store multiple models, all that sort of stuff. But I mean, for the average everyday, you're not going to probably be flying wings with this, but for the average everyday drone pilot who just wants to do some freestyle in the park, it's got enough range, it's got enough switches. And yes, the gimbals, they're not Hall effect, but they still feel fine. I think for most pilots out there, you definitely couldn't be complaining. So anyway, I'm going to drop a link for this down below. Let me know what you think about this radio, especially for the price point, and it is probably my favorite FPV product I've ever reviewed. Why? Am I going to be using it every day? No, because it's not better than the Tango 2. It's not better than the Jumpers or the T16s and all those different types of radios. What it is my favorite for, it's just getting people into the hobby. FPV changed my life in such a positive way. I want other people to be experiencing that. And if you can have a lower priced entry point that's still going to let them enjoy the skies and have an awesome time, all the more power to you. Well done, Beta FPV. I think it makes me feel very, very happy that this is going to get more people flying, which is the entire mission of my channel. Anyway, other than that, subscribe for more FPV related content. Drop your comments down below. And as always, happy flying.